All right, Pep Talk UK. We live. We live. We live.
We're back.
Pro B's. Pro B's. I said it twice. You know
Yes.
why? Because the man that says it twice, usually on a big fight night, is in the building. David Diamante. How you doing?
I'm great, Pro Beach. Great to see you, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. You know, you kind of become a British citizen now. You know, taking in the culture. You're always over here now. I believe you've got a permanent residence over here now. Yeah.
It's probably soon. Probably soon. Yeah, I'm over here a lot. I got a flat over here now, living over here, and it's a lot of fun, man. It's great. Loving it. Having a great time.
And how does it compare to Brooklyn?
Well, nothing compares to Brooklyn, man. That's my heart. I'm just gonna be real about it. You know, I got to keep it a buck. I mean, Brooklyn is what it is. You know, it's an amazing place. There's no place in the world like Brooklyn. So once you've been there, once you spend time there, you'll understand. But there's nowhere in the world like Brooklyn. So nowhere compares to Brooklyn. But it's a good second home. I'll tell you that. The UK.
You know, I always wanted to go to. I've been to Brooklyn once. I've always wanted to go to the Barclays Center in Brooklyn?
Yeah.
There was a lot of fights there before, probably about a year or two ago, wasn't there? A lot of fights in that Brooklyn Barclays Center. There was a lot of fights there before.
Well, I was the official voice of the Barclays Center. So when you from the beginning, so before Barclays Center used to just be a hole in the ground. There was nothing. It was right at Atlantic Yards. And when Jay-Z and Prokhorov bought the team from Jersey to Brooklyn, they chose me as the voice of the team. And they also Brett Ratner had me become the voice of the Barclays Center also. So when you called Barclays Center, you actually got me on the telephone. It was like, I mean, not me personally, but my recording. Thank you for calling Barclays Center, home of the Brooklyn Nets and New York Islanders. You know, and I called most of those fights in Brooklyn. So from 8 years ago, the very first one, I mean, the main event was on Showtime, so that was different. But all the undercards and stuff like that, I mean, I did almost all of those. So it was a lot of fun. I mean, I think that first fight there, the first big fight was Danny Garcia and Eric Morales.
Okay.
That was the main event. And that was 8 years ago. So it was a great card. But, I mean, all the Brooklyn fighters like Luis Collazo and Malignaggi and Dimitri Salita, and, you know, all these guys fought on the card, you know. So it was really cool. And, yeah, Barclays Center is great, you know. And I was the voice of the Brooklyn Nets also. So I called every NBA game there for the first 5 years. I called the NCAA games, the NBA games. So it was a lot of fun. So, yeah, Barclays is cool, man. It's great. It's a beautiful arena.
You just kind of told us a bit about your versatility. It's not just boxing, you know, it's bigger than that. You know, other sports that you've done also as well. You used to be a DJ as well. You used to, like, you know, play the tune. Oh, okay.
I was a DJ, and I was also a professional drummer. I played drums.
Okay.
So, yeah, I've done a lot of different stuff.
All right. Okay. And obviously, yeah.
Boxing.
Boxing. The fight starts now.
Yes.
Hey.
Absolutely.
That's all trademarked, right? That's all trademarked, I assume.
All trademarked.
Okay.
All trademarked.
And do you take influence, obviously, from Michael Buffer? You know, he obviously he's a legend in the game. You know, he's the guy that everyone sort of looks up to in terms of, you know, when it comes to ring announcing. Is that someone you very much look up to? Sorry, should I say?
You know, I mean, I would say in a way, yes. I mean, Michael and I are very close friends. I mean, we've worked together for a very long time. We've known each other for a very long time. But you know, he's got the Rumble company that, you know, kind of handles his stuff. But, you know, there's a lot of people that have trademarked stuff way before Michael Buffer. So that's a move that's, you know, a lot of people have done. So, but yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, Michael is, you know, he elevated the game without a doubt.
Yeah, and I like his brothers. His half brother, wasn't it? Is it Bruce?
Bruce
Buffer?
Great guy. I love him. He's such a nice dude. I think he does a great job. Yeah, I mean, Michael and his brother, they're just, you know, they're really great guys. They're good friends and nice guys.
Mm. The UFC at the moment is absolutely on fire. The UFC at the moment is wow.
Yeah, but why are we talking about that? We're talking about boxing, man.
No, we got to pay homage, man. We got to pay homage, man.
No,
They're doing a
listen,
great
that's
job.
all cool, but I mean, we're talking boxing, but no, look, I have nothing. I've called MMA and Muay Thai for years, so I really like all combat sports. I really do, and big hats off to Habib, for what he's done. Great fight the other night against Gaethje. So absolutely, got to pay homage to those guys, and I love what those guys do. I mean, not just the organization, but the fighters are incredible. I mean, really incredible. The discipline, the toughness it takes to do what they do it's unreal. It's unreal.
Let's talk about how things have changed. We've had a pandemic. You ring announcer for big shows and big fights. Talk me through how things have changed from you, from a personal perspective, when you're now involved in these big events.
Well, look, it always helps to have a crowd. I mean, even from a young age, like I told you, I was a DJ. I started DJing actually in 1988 in a radio station, and I didn't like it at all. And the reason was because there was no live atmosphere. I mean, there was an audience listening, but I didn't feel the energy from the crowd. Now, DJing in clubs, I loved it, and I rose to the top. But that was in front of live audiences, so that's where I really thrive. So to do it in front of these empty halls is tough. But at the same time, it's not, because Pro B's, I'm such a fight fan. Like, I really want to see this fight, and so when I'm there, when these guys are in the ring or gals, and like I want to see this fight, like the fight starts now. I mean, it's the spirit's in me. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to, but it's just what it is. Like, I can't wait to see this fight. So it doesn't matter if it's 5 guys there, or well, say 5 guys, start thinking about a burger. Doesn't matter if there's 50 guys there, or if there's 20,000, or 50,000, So it's like, I mean, when I did, because obviously Usyk's fighting this weekend. When I did Usyk and Gassiev in Moscow at the Olympic Stadium, I mean, I can't tell you how that place was so packed. I don't know how many people were there, but it was a lot. It was a lot. It was amazing. And I mean, that's great. You obviously, the crowd lifts you, and you, hopefully you lift them. It's a very symbiotic relationship. But it doesn't matter, because I still know that people are watching, and I still feel it myself, and I still want to see this fight. So my job is to get these fighters hyped up and introduce them correctly and let them know they're about to go to war.
All right. We're going to engage the viewers who are just flooding in. Guys, smash that like button. Subscribe.
Support your boy Pro B's.
So support.
Pep
right.
Talk UK, Pro B's. Hit the like button for him.
That's it. Thank you, David. Right, we're going to run through some of the questions. Where was your favorite place to announce fighters? Harry Tovey.
Harry Tovey, how you doing, man? Thanks for the question. Wow, it's tough to say because there's so many great venues around the world. But I will say, and I'm not just saying it because I'm here in the UK, but like, doing fights here in the UK is on a different level. I mean, this weekend we're going to be at the SSE Arena in Wembley. The first fight I ever did there was George Groves against Jamie Cox. And man, the fight might not have been epic, but obviously we didn't know that before the fight started. And the crowd was epic. I mean, people were going bananas. There was a band in the audience. As soon as the bell rang, fight started in the crowd. I mean, it was a heated crowd. The energy here in the UK for the fights is so amazing. I truly love it. Manchester Arena is insane. Newcastle's insane. Liverpool's insane. Wembley, the O2. There's so many great places to announce fights. But that being said, MSG, there's nothing like Madison Square Garden. But it's a hard one to answer. I can't just say one place. But and also Mexico is a great place to announce
Okay.
fights. I mean, they get maniacal, and I just love it. They're fanatics. They are fanatic fans, and so there's a lot of great places, a lot of great fans all over the world.
Right. We'll keep the questions rolling. Guys, smash that like button. We got David Diamante, the world famous ring announcer. The stream starts now.
Yes.
All right. All right. Bruce Lee. Now, this is not the real Bruce Lee, I might add.
You didn't get your Ouija board out? You sure?
Hey, I don't think it is the real Bruce Lee. All right, what's David's thoughts on Usyk and Chisora? Who will win? Well, I think David has to kind of remain neutral, but he'll give his feedback anyway.
Yeah, thank you for saying that, Pro Bees. I mean, I obviously have thoughts on it, but I'm going to be announcing both these guys. So I never root for any fighter. For me, I root for a good fight, and I want the best man to win. So I don't have any favorites in when I go into a fight. You know, I do both guys just as big as each other. I think that's only fair. So I try to remain neutral. Well, I don't try. I always remain neutral. It's just how I do it. It's actually pretty easy for me to do that. And like with these guys, I mean, I have history with both guys. I've announced Derek several times, and I've announced Alexander several times, and I think they're really both great guys to be around. I'm very fond of both guys, and again, I just want the best man to win. But you know, I will say this: styles make fights. We hear it all the time, and I think that's what you got to look at here. I think Derek Chisora is a great fighter for a certain dance partner. You know, a guy like Dillian White and him, I mean, they make music. I mean, those guys sit and bang. But Usyk is a very tricky fighter, and he can be extremely elusive. So the key to the fight, to me, for Derek, he needs to cut off the ring. I mean, if you look at what happened with Agit Kabayel and also with Sanad Gashi, I mean, the Sanad Gashi fight is a good example. I mean, Sanad Gashi, they fought, I think, in April of 2019 at the O2. And Gashi, if you remember, you know, he's a tough Albanian fighter. He was undefeated, and he fought Carlos Takam. And Sanad Gashi's got these incredible tattoos of like war scenes and battle axes and all this stuff. He's a straight warrior. And he went into the Takam fight trying to fight fire with fire. But Takam sparked him, just chinned him. And because it wasn't the right tactic going against that guy. I mean, Takam is just very, very strong. The next fight, well, Sanad ended up fighting Chisora. Like I said, I think it was in April of 2019 at the O2. And I thought it was going to be a cracking fight because I thought he was going to be there. I thought he was going to meet Derek Del Boy in the center of the ring. But it was a really kind of a stinker fight. You know, he just kind of, he moved around. And defensive. The difference in this fight is the fact that, well, first of all, I think Usyk is several levels above Sanad Gashi, number one. But number two, I don't know if Sanad Gashi was ever trying to win that fight. And that's a very big difference that it's very hard. If I don't know, Pro B's, if you've ever been in the ring and fought different guys, when you when you fight a guy that doesn't want to engage, it's very difficult. It's very difficult because you can't find him. You have to really work hard to cut off a ring to get a guy that really doesn't want to engage. And Sanad Gashi just kind of stayed on his bicycle the whole night. It was kind of a really boring fight. I think Usyk has even better elusiveness than Gashi, but the difference, though, is that Alexander is going to be there to try to win the fight. So he's going to be there. I mean, he's going to get hit. You know, you don't walk through the rain and not get wet, right? He's going to take some punches. And if there's one thing that we know, Del Boy, he's got that equalizer. And that's what everyone wants to see. Does Usyk belong at 14 stone 4 pounds? And we're going to find out. I don't think Chaz Witherspoon was the right, you know, litmus test. I mean, it was a good start maybe in the division, but I think Del Boy is going to give him a much stiffer test.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's the key to the fight to me for Chisora is he needs to cut off the ring.
And like Chisora said, he's prepared to eat leather to get to the target.
Absolutely.
So that says what the game plan is already. War.
Yeah, but you can't hit what you can't see, and that's the difference. You know, Usyk is a pretty special fighter. I'm not trying to say he's you know, I'm not necessarily saying he's one of the all-time greats yet. That a lot of people are saying that. I'm not saying that, but he is a special fighter. You cannot take that away from him. And not only that, I mean, all that great stuff he did in the cruiserweight division, he did it in other people's backyards. So he has a championship mentality. And that's one of the great things about Usyk is he is a real winner in his mind and inside and outside the ring. He's a real winner. He just has that mentality. And you need that at the upper echelons of the sport. And he has that.
All right. Questions are flooding in. Yo, guys, smash that like button, subscribe. Pep Talk UK, David Diamante. That rhymes. Pep Talk UK, David Diamante.
Boom.
Remix.
Former voice of the Barclays.
There you go. There you go.
David
All
Diamante.
Right. Anthony Montella. He's kind of like a Patreon. What's David smoking on? Some like yabba yabba, as Snoop says.
What happened? What happened?
You know, Snoop Dogg says he smokes on some of that yabba yabba. Snoop Dogg.
Right. I didn't hear what you said. No, it's not that, man. I don't smoke what Snoop smokes. Not for a long time, I'll tell you that. No, I'm smoking one of my own. It's a Diamante Panatella. So got a little factory down in Dominican Republic where I roll my cigars, and that's where this comes from. Delicious cigar.
All right, okay. That's a pre-bed snack for David Diamante.
Yes.
All right. So, all right, Dino, I won't pronounce your surname. It's a very long surname, but who are your top 5 heavyweights of all time and why? Big up, Dino.
Dino, how you doing, brother? Thank you for the question. Oh, God, top 5 heavyweights. I mean, Joe Louis, you can't take anything away from him. There's no way. Obviously, Muhammad Ali has to be there. Jack Johnson, for sure, is up there. You know, I don't want to give my definitive right now, but I'll say a few more. But I mean, I think you have to put Rocky Marciano up there. And it's really hard to say a 5th. I mean, man, there's so many great ones. I mean, I'm tempted to say something like Larry Holmes. And people might freak out that I'm not saying Mike Tyson. I think Tyson might belong there somewhere, but I don't know if it's the top 5 for me. I'm not sure. So I'd kind of go with that list.
Yeah, you kind of want a top 10 instead of a top 5.
Yeah, I mean, there's just too many. There's so many great heavyweights over the years, but I'll go with that for now.
All right, we work our way through these questions, guys. Smash that like button, subscribe. We're almost there, 15K. We're almost there. Hit that subscribe button if you ain't subscribed. All right, so
how many people watching this live right now?
At the moment, we have, I think, 25 that have joined in.
Oh God, come on, guys, we can do better than that.
Come on, we can do better, but
that's all right. I appreciate the 25 here. Let's keep doing it.
Let's keep it intimate. All right, so Wayne Hennessy, do you have dreadlocks or twist?
No, they're dreadlocks. Yeah, they're locks. I've had them. I haven't cut my hair since '88, so I've had them now.
Oh wow!
Yeah, coming up on 33 years.
Wow! Okay.
Yeah, I've had them for a long time.
All right, so okay, another good question. Dino again. Thoughts on Wilder's silence?
I think sometimes silence is deafening. I think sometimes you could say a lot by not saying a lot. And I think that's right now what Wilder's doing. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, we all know that he cut Mark Breland out of the camp. Supposedly, and I don't know this personally, but it's what I've heard, and I'm sure it's what you guys have all heard, that there's some type of pending possible litigation about a third fight with Fury. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with Wilder, but listen, everybody loves to get on the guy's, hype train, and then as soon as he takes an L, everyone immediately jumps off and they're like, "Oh yeah, that guy was garbage," and this and that. I mean, that's just not fair. It's not fair to the fighters. I mean, you can do what you want as fans, but I just feel that look, I think Wilder we all know he's got dynamite in his gloves, but I think it's really dangerous to fall in love with your power. Because when you fall in love with your power, you forget about your boxing, and you always have to come back to the fundamentals, and we saw it the other night in a baseball game in the World Series where guy went to catch a ball with one hand and he missed it, and it turned out to be a very costly mistake. The fundamentals are you use two hands to catch the ball. The fundamentals in boxing is that you stick your jab. When I first started to box, my trainer wouldn't even let me hit the bag first. The only thing I could do was throw jabs in a mirror, and I hated it. And then we started working on other combinations. Then we moved to the bag. Then way later did we move to sparring. And by that time, once you have someone that's shooting back at your head, those combinations, they're just in you because you've been doing them for so long. You say, "Oh, that's why I did this." So you have to come back to fundamentals. And, you look at the Ortiz fight where Wilder basically lost every single second of every single round.
Yep.
Until he chinned Ortiz. And that's dangerous because what if he can't get him? Like I said earlier, talking about Usyk and Chisora, you can't hit what you can't see. If you can't land on the guy, well, he's going to take you to a decision and you're going to lose. So that's dangerous. And I think that there are definitely things that Wilder needs to work on. But, that being said, there's things that everyone needs to work on.
Of course. Yeah, of course.
And so I'm not ready to just throw him under the bus. I think he's still in the conversation. I think he's definitely, I think 100% we had a three-headed monster that's now become a two-headed monster. I think there's no doubt that everybody wants to see AJ and Fury, and that's the two-headed monster right now at the top of the heavyweight division. It was a three-headed monster. One of those heads got cut off. It's now a two-headed monster. So that's who we want to see. So that's what we all want to see, and that's hoping that AJ can get past Pulev, which is a very tough test, and hoping that Tyson Fury gets past whoever he decides to fight coming up, and hoping that that fight can be made. But don't think that Wilder's not still there somewhere.
Definitely. And as you said, you take one L and everyone jumps on your back. But, this is part of character. It's part of character, right?
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, Muhammad Ali had losses. Manny Pacquiao has lost. Yeah. Like, a lot of people have losses that are, just legends, So, Duran and Hagler and, all these guys. So you can't look at it like that. And I'm not saying Wilder's at that level. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm just saying, sometimes a loss can be the best thing that happens to you because you have to go back to the drawing board and really assess your game plan. And it can force you out of your comfort zone to learn.
And to be honest, sometimes it depends on who you fought to have the losses in the first place. Talk about Chisora. Chisora's got 9 losses, but he's fought high-class opposition to get those losses in the first place.
Dude,
you see what I mean?
Yeah, he lost to Tyson Fury twice.
Exactly.
He lost to Klitschko. He lost to Helenius. He lost to Hay. I mean, he lost to Dillian White. These are quality opponents.
Exactly. So you can actually be probably 30-0 fighting plumbers.
Well, That's exactly right. And that's what's going to be interesting about seeing this guy, Chris Lovejoy, who's fighting Dave Allen on the card, because it's not just about Usyk and Chisora. There's a lot of other great fights on this card. And I don't know who Chris Lovejoy really is. I don't know if anyone does, because we're not really sure who his opponents have been. So, you know, if all your fights have been in, you know, Mexico or wherever they've been, then you know, just not sure what can happen.
All right, we've got some requests coming in. Harry Tovey, can David announce my name, please?
What's his name?
David Tovey.
David.
Sorry, Harry Tovey. Harry Tovey. Sorry.
Oh man, see Pro B's.
It's getting late for me, man. I'm usually in bed by this time.
Harry Tovey, where's he from?
Where are you from, Harry? All right, we'll just say he's from, I don't know, Brixton.
The undefeated champion, Harry Tovey. Tovey.
He's got to love that. He'll go to bed with a smile on his face tonight. All right, Anthony Montella. I forgot to ask David about Christopher Lovejoy. No one really knows much of him. Has David been around him, and what does he make of him?
No, I don't know him. I don't know him. At least I don't think I know him. I don't think I've done any of his fights, to be honest. To be really honest, I skimmed his record, but I didn't look. You know, it's funny because I have been around this sport for a very long time, and sometimes, you know, I don't know if you ever like you'll be going through and you say, oh, this movie looks good, and you'll put it in, you'll start watching, you go, oh, I've seen this film. Sometimes, you know, there'll be a fighter and I forget that I announced some of their fights. I don't think that I know Chris Lovejoy. So the answer is no. I definitely know the White Rhino. I know
Shawn, aka Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid. Dave Allen.
I know who David Allen is, man, from Conisbrough. That's my guy, man. Doncaster de la Hoya. We all know him, you know.
Oh, yeah. Such
Don
a character.
Caster, Darren Barker. We all know David Allen. And he brings it. I think it's going to be a really fun fight either way. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
100%.
David Allen is always in some type of entertaining affair. So, and it's always an absolute pleasure to see him. So I bubble tomorrow, and I'm really looking forward to seeing him.
All right. Boom, boom, coil. How many cigars does the big man go through a day?
A few. Quite a few. It depends. You know what? I look at smoking cigars as a hobby, not as a habit. So if I'm working, if I don't have time, I don't smoke a cigar. But if I have some downtime and I'm doing, you know, then I'll smoke a cigar. So it really depends on my schedule. Sometimes, you know, I might just smoke one. Sometimes it might be quite a few.
All right, guys. David Diamante is in the building. Hit that like button. Subscribe. All right, we've got another request for a shout out. I beg David, please drop the Macca's shout out. So okay, so Jim McDonald's wants a shout out from you. Another sort of introduction, like Harry's one.
All right, introducing the champion, Jim McDonald.
All right. Stanley Redding says David Diamante, the GOAT announcer.
Yo, I appreciate
that,
brother.
Like LL Cool J, man. The GOAT. You remember he had the mic on his arm, LL Cool J?
Yeah, man.
And he showed it to Cannabis. I'm the GOAT.
Yo, LL Cool J is a bad boy, man. He's incredible. I love him.
He's a big boxing fan as well. You see him, he's always watching the fights and commenting on the fights.
Yeah, he's a buddy of mine. I know him. And he's just a great guy. You know, LL Cool J is one of those guys that, first of all, I mean, going back to like Bigger and Deffer, I mean, that album right there, I could rap that whole album for you. I know a fat girl. She wears an orange skirt. You give her $20 and you could do work. She'll take food stamps and a traveler's checks because her hair and her face and her life's a wreck. She wears a bright blonde wig, smile heel pumps. She's down in the dumps office selling a rump. She's a hot little mom and she works every day. If you want to pay to play, here's where she stays. She's at the Bristol Hotel.
Mr. Smith, a rendition.
He goes through the ages, man. He's an incredible guy. And speaking of the ages, he just never ages. He's in great shape. My buddy, I think Scooter is the one that trains him. He's in great shape. He's such a positive guy, and he's a G, man. LL Cool J is the real deal, man.
Do you remember that?
Real deal.
Do you remember that celebrity boxing match? I think it was years ago. It was Sticky Fingers from Onyx versus a skater guy.
Okay.
Do you remember that? It was probably about 15 years ago.
What, the Slam song?
Yeah. So Sticky Fingers.
Yeah.
Fought some skater guy, but he
it was
lost.
a fight. Oh, it was a fight. Okay.
Yeah, it was a celebrity fight at the time.
I remember that.
It was a long while ago.
No, I don't remember
but
that.
Boxing's not for everyone. That's what it showed.
That's very true.
All right. True. We're going to run through these questions. David Diamante is in the building. Smash that like button. All right. Does David think there will be beef in the bubble this week?
Well, there's always a potential, right? You got a bunch of fighters. So you never know what could happen. I mean, I know that Hannah Rankin and Savannah Marshall, they've had some words. And I got to be honest, I cannot wait for that fight. I mean, I was really, really torn for a couple reasons. Obviously, I was worried about Peter Fury, and I hope he's better. I'm sure he is, but I don't know for sure. But I hope that he's feeling much better. But I was obviously really bummed that fight fell through, and I'm very excited that it's happening this weekend. I think that's a great fight, and I think that I can't see either one of these women taking a backward step. I think it's going to be a brutal affair. Yeah. I think it's going to be a hell of a fight.
Definitely. I'm so pleased for Hannah Rankin, because before she even had a professional fight, I saw her when she first started down in Gym Box in Farringdon, Central London.
Yeah.
And I think I was there on one of her first sparring sessions, and she was literally just starting out. So her journey to becoming a world champion has been immense. It's been immense. I'm so happy for her.
It's a big deal, man. It's a big deal. So, I mean, she's never been a world champ, but this is her first. This is if she can, this will be her first world title. I think she was the former IBO and WBC silver champion.
Yeah.
You've also got Cash Farouk's on the card, right? He had that very close fight with Lee McGregor, obviously. And I think the fight that a lot of people are waiting to see is the Lee Selby-Kambosos fight. I mean, that's a great fight. Obviously, it was supposed to happen in Wales, but it's finally happening. It's a finally eliminator for the IBF Lightweight World Championship, which obviously Teofimo Lopez owns now. So they're going to be the mandatory for Teofimo.
Lopez.
And, I don't know if anyone wants that, but that's what it looks like. I mean, everyone, when I say that, I obviously, because Teofimo is such a great fighter, but obviously they do want that, because fighters fight. That's what they do, and they want the big money fights, and that'll be a big money fight no matter what.
100%. And again, we've got to give props to Lopez. You know, he did a madness the other day. He did a madness, and he's the top dog at 135. No denying it.
Well, I don't know about that. Let's just slow our roll just for a second. First of all, 100%. I love Teofimo Lopez. It was an amazing performance. It was great, but there's a real fight out there, and that's Devin Haney. So let's just pump the brakes just for a second. I mean, let's just pump the brakes. Like, let's get that fight, and let's see who reigns supreme at 135. I mean, right now, Teofimo Lopez has definitely staked his claim, but you can't just beat one guy and say you're the best, especially a guy that really dominates at 126 and 130. Haney fights at 135, and just like Teofimo, probably is going to be moving up. So, and Haney also has the youth like Lopez. Haney also has the speed like Lopez. That's a hell of a fight, man. That's the fight that needs to happen. I mean, I want to see that fight. So Yeah. Oh, hats off to Teofimo Lopez. He did an incredible job. It was a great fight, and I thought that fight was incredibly easy to score. I didn't find it to be difficult to score at all. I was very surprised that people gave Lomachenko round 2 in that. I mean, he had a little flurry in round 2, but for me, it was the first several rounds were easily Teofimo. And then Lomachenko came on and took the later rounds. And then the last round was Lopez. I think I had it scored 116, 112. I thought it was very easy to score. I think, you know, I have my scorecard. I don't have it here. I can't exactly remember. I think rounds 7 and 8 were a little bit, that's where I think Lomachenko really started to kind of come on. So those maybe could have gone one way or the other. But I thought it was pretty clear who won. Those rounds, and I thought it was a pretty easy fight to score. A great performance, and I'll tell you what I saw in that fight. What I saw was I really likened the first part of the fight. So just don't jump down my throat yet. The very first part of that fight to me was very similar to Mikey Garcia when he fought Errol Spence. Mikey Garcia, I think, is every bit as good of a fighter, if not better, than Errol Spence. He's as good. I'm not saying he's better, but he's at least as good. But he's a smaller guy, right? He had come up to the 147 from a much lower weight. And what's the rule? A good big man beats a good small man. And that almost always holds true. That's why it's a rule. So in the Mikey Garcia fight, when he was fighting Spence at the beginning, you could see he was trying to get off, but he knew he was going to get sparked if he did. Because Spence was just waiting for it. And Spence has that power. So he wasn't able to get off at all. The second part of the fight of Lomachenko Lopez, that fight to me was very similar to the beginning of Lopez Lomachenko, because I feel that Teofimo Lopez did such a great job, and I think he was much faster than Lomachenko expected. And I think we obviously know how much power he has, and I think Lomachenko felt that power early. He didn't want any part of it, and he couldn't find his way in yet. And so he was very timid, and he had a very low punch output because Teofimo did everything correctly. I think Lomachenko's such a great fighter that he was able to start figuring out the puzzle a bit in round 6, 7, and then he started to come on. And that's when he started to win rounds. And he did win rounds. And in fact, I did think that Teofimo looked kind of befuddled at certain points in that fight. There were points where Loma was putting it on him, and you could see it almost, you know what it is? It's almost as if Lopez is so good, he's not used to getting hit. And he just didn't really look too comfortable eating that leather from Lomachenko. But I don't think he was ever in any deep trouble. But there were definitely points where he looked uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I think that in round 12, I think both guys had moments, but Lopez really shone, and he was the one that stepped up. And I think most everyone I've talked to agrees that he won that round. I mean, I thought he won the round. But afterwards, speaking to most people believe that he won the round also. So that's kind of how I looked at that fight and what happened there. And all hats off to Teofimo Lopez. Great fight. Great performance.
And his old man as well, you know, got a special accolade after as well. Senior.
Well, listen, I mean, he has a lot to do with it, you know, and again, it's that championship mentality. You know, there's one thing that Teofimo doesn't know how to do. There's one thing that Alexander Usyk doesn't know how to do. They don't know how to lose. And it's a very powerful thing. Like I said, they have that championship mentality.
Did you see what Ryan Garcia said? He said that someone asked him, will the experience of Luke Campbell, you know, will that be an advantage for him over you? And he said, well, he's got an experience of losing, which I don't have. So how's that going to help him?
It's all gamesmanship. Again, we've said it. A lot of great champions, most of the great champions in our sport have had losses. So, of course, that's just trying to get inside of Luke Campbell's head. But Luke Campbell also knows how to win. because he's won a lot of fights. I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
That's a
definitely.
great fight. I love that fight. Love that
Hey,
fight.
I'm loving 135 pounds at the moment. That whole weight class. I'm so engaged. All right. We got some questions from the viewers. Let's crack through them. All right. Dave Mitchell, what's your thoughts on Leo Santa Cruz versus Gervonta Tank Davis? Another fight this weekend.
It's an interesting fight. I mean, you know, I really wish Tank would be fighting some of these guys we're talking about. You know, Santa Cruz, again, smaller guy, tough, really tough, but also a lot of miles. You know, and Gervonta's another guy that I think has really underperformed because we just haven't seen him up against the right opponents just yet. But he is a hell of a fighter. And he's another guy that can fall prey to falling in love with his power, because he also has that big punch. But don't get it twisted. Gervonta Davis can box. He can box. But sometimes it's like he doesn't want to. And that's a problem. You know, that's a real problem, because you don't want to fall in love with your own power. You got to stick to the fundamentals, stick with what got you there. And that's the boxing skill. And then if the knockout comes, it comes. But I think there are some great fights to be made. I think Gervonta is definitely the favorite in the fight, but you can never count Santa Cruz out. He's as tough as they come. We've all seen the fights with Frampton. And Leo Santa Cruz is a really tough opponent. So it should be a good fight. I definitely want to watch it.
You know, think about that fight. You've got someone that has a high volume of punches in Santa Cruz, and then you got the one punch banger in Gervonta Davis. But I kind of resemble that fight to when Broner fought Maidana. Maidana is on your neck every second of a round, right? Throwing punches, small angles, and roughing you up. And then you had Broner at the time that was the superstar, up and coming superstar, and the ill discipline kind of got to him. You see what I mean? And then things changed after that fight.
First of all, I loved that fight. I mean, that was a great fight. That fight was, oh man! For anyone,
I love AB though. I love the showmanship of AB. I love AB.
Yeah, I mean, that's cool. I mean, you can
dance into the ring.
What did you say?
What his energy in the ring? I love his energy. He's just, his energy in and around fight week. I love his energy.
He's definitely an entertainer, but he's I think he's also a guy that underperformed and again, punch output. I mean, Broner would kind of stand in that center of the ring and kind of do that a little bit of a shoulder roll and just kind of try to counter punch and do this. But that's, he didn't carry, again, moving up in weight classes is when he starts to have problems. And we saw that with, even like the Maidana fight. We saw that. So at the lower weights, he was great. Same like Lomachenko, at 126, at 130, he's no Lomachenko, but at 135, he really hasn't been. And so, he won his fights up until the other day, but, he had some issues. So that always poses a problem. And that's the difference between the Santa Cruz and the Gervonta Davis analogy, is that Santa Cruz is the one that's coming up in weight. So I think that's going to pose a problem for Santa Cruz. That's why I think Gervonta Davis has to be the favorite in the fight. But either way, it's an interesting fight. And you do make a good point that Leo Santa Cruz does have a high punch output. I mean, he's not going to stop. He's a Mexican warrior. He's not going to quit. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
100%. I look forward to that Tank and Santa Cruz this weekend, along with Usyk versus Chisora. Oh man, what a weekend, man! What a weekend, man! I'm so excited.
Selby Cambosis, Savannah Marshall, Hannah Rankin, Ramla Ali. She's making her pro debut. That's from 258 Management. Ramla Ali, from Somalia. I mean, she fights out of London, but she's Somalian. She's making her pro debut. Obviously Cash Farouk back in action. It's his first fight with Matchroom. Dave Allen, the White Rhino, Chris Lovejoy. Yeah, it's good. It's a really good card.
You might want to, order a double pizza with stuffed crust, a few potato wedges. It's going to be a great fight weekend, man. Yeah. All right, guys, I'm going to engage some of the viewers. We've got loads of questions. Remember, guys, smash that like button. David Diamante is in the building. All right. So this is a question that I'm sure you've been asked many times before from Brit MK2. I've always wanted to know why you repeat the surnames of fighters.
So I do it for a few reasons. The first thing is to pay homage to the history of the sport, because that's how it used to be done back in the day. Guys like Johnny Addy, guys like Mark Biro, guys like Ed Darian. And when I came up, that's what I heard. That's how it was announced in New York. And so no one did it anymore. And I always loved it as a kid. And it's just something that's my unique style that I wanted to bring it back. And when I started announcing almost 20 years ago, I always did it. If you see videos of me 20 years ago announcing amateur fights, and they're out there. I mean, they're hard to find, but they are out there. You'll see me saying the names twice. So that's it. I mean, it's kind of how it was done back in the day. And to me, it's the correct way to do it. So yeah, it's my unique style, and I like to do it.
I like to do it. I like to do it.
I like to do it twice as nice. Twice as nice.
All right, guys, get your questions in. We've got about 10 minutes left. David Diamante is in the building. Hi, David. Your thoughts on Chris Eubank Sr., please. In particular, his first fight with Nigel Benn.
I mean, legend. I mean, I'm in Brighton right now, so I'm in the home of the Eubanks.
There you go.
And Nigel Benn and Chris Eubank, I mean, they're absolute legends. It's hard to top those fights and those guys, and all the credit to the world to them. And I think that Chris Eubank is he's such a, again, it's that winning mentality. He has that, and he's his own man. He's an original. So I'm a big fan, huge fan.
All righty. All right, you got a few more questions that we're going to get through. Right, I've got a question in Polish. I don't understand it, so I can't read it. And one in Russian as well. Wow. All right, thoughts on Inoue versus Maloney? Good fight again.
Thoughts on what? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
The monster, Inoue.
Oh,
versus
Inoue.
Maloney. Yep.
Yeah, the monster. Yeah, again, this is Halloween, right? So I've been saying, instead of the fight starts now, I say the fright starts now. I mean, Inoue seems to punch holes in walls, man. He's a pretty scary guy. He's the monster, but I'm looking forward to that fight for sure. Again, I mean, I'm more focused on our fights because that's what I'm doing, but I'm going to watch all of them. Can't wait to see it. It should be a good fight.
All right, Stanley Redding, pick yourself up. David, what's been the most brutal knockout you were ringside for?
You know what? I've seen hundreds, and I've seen some really terrible ones. And I don't want to bring up any tragedies, but I don't think there's any doubt that the most brutal one I saw was Rest in Peace Patrick Day, and that was on the undercard of Alexander. It was Alexander Usyk's last fight in Chicago when he fought Chaz Witherspoon. It was horrific. It was absolutely horrific, and I hope I never see anything like that in my life again. And I'm still not over it. I'll never be over that. Patrick was a good friend of mine, and I don't want to start. That's been very tough for me. But other brutal knockouts. I will say this: speaking of this weekend and speaking of Usyk and Chisora, dude, 2 knockouts that were so brutal so brutal. And Derek Chisora was a part of them. One, he was the guy doing the knocking out. When he knocked out Artur Szpilka,
yeah. That was
I'm
mad.
telling you, that was incredible. I mean, that was just brutal. And when Dillian White knocked Chisora out in their second fight, oh my God. Both of those fights, I mean, I was maybe the closest person in the arena to them. I mean, I was right there at the apron when that happened. And I'm telling you, those were so brutal. And then speaking of another knockout that was incredibly brutal was when and it involves Artur Szpilka again, is when he fought Deontay Wilder.
Yes.
Dude,
yes.
I thought his head was going to come off and go into the third row. I mean, that was incredibly brutal. And again, I was right next to the ring. And I'm telling you, up close, that was so brutal. I saw another. There's been so many over the years. I saw El Abejon, the Bumblebee. What's his name? Come on, he's Samson Lukowicz fighter. His nickname is El Abejon, Dominican guy. He knocked out a guy in Broadway boxing. Oh, he starched him. The kid just basically seized. And we were all like, "Oh my God!" But the guy was okay. But obviously, immediately went to the hospital. There's been some brutal ones, man. Brutal. Hats off to these warriors, man.
Hey, we got to add to that. Deontay Wilder against Dominic Brazil. Another amazing knockout. That was an amazing knockout, also as well. Highlight reels. I mean, Wilder's got highlight reels. He's got a highlight reel.
He's got a highlight reel. He's got a highlight reel.
Okay.
The thing about the Szpilka fight was that Szpilka was actually doing pretty well in that fight up until that moment. Brazil, not so much. Brazil maybe not so much, but Szpilka, dude, wow, that was rough.
Yeah, he took him off the ground.
It was a rough one.
It was a mad knockout. It was a mad knockout.
Mad knockout.
All right, guys, any more questions? We're about to wrap up real soon. Got David Diamante in the building. The fight starts now. All right, Jim 83. What is the first fight you announced in the UK?
The first fight I announced in the UK was at York Hall.
All right, East London.
I think Selby was on the card, actually. I can't remember who. It was a while ago, but it was at York Hall. And to go back to an earlier question about what is my favorite venue to announce at, I have to say, I really love York Hall. I know a lot of people don't love it, but I love it, man. To me, it's the lore, it's the history. Anyone has fought there. It's just There's no place like York Hall, man. I absolutely love it. That was the first fight I announced.
That's where we started out as well. Myself and Shaz, we started out in York Hall.
Yeah.
Just watching small hall shows.
Yeah.
Interviewing the fighters and then eventually interviewing bigger fighters. It started in York Hall.
Bethnal Green, baby. There's nothing like it.
Green.
Man. There's nothing like it. And then afterwards, you go to Bagel Bake and get yourself a salt beef and a cuppa.
We love East London,
man.
All right, I think we're more or less done. I've got one last question, actually. PA79, does he think Usyk's chin will stand up to the bombs of Derek Chisora?
Well, this is the thing. You got to remember, in boxing, it's not like you guys ever seen those clips on YouTube where these guys sit at a table and smack each other? It's not that. Boxing is about angles and slips. And so, again, you can't walk through the rain and not get wet. Usyk's going to get hit. But the problem is, and when you get knocked out, the punches that you don't see that knock you out. Does Derek Chisora have the hand speed to hit Usyk with a punch that he doesn't see? Well, now that very well could knock out any person on the earth. I mean, Derek Chisora, there's no doubt he's got incredible power. So do I think that he has the power to stop anyone? Yes, I do. But if you see the punch coming, you can take a little mustard off it by moving back, by slipping, by going under, whatever it is that you do. So it's not about like, can he take those punches? It's about, is he going to take those punches? I think the bigger question is, can Chisora land those punches? And that's what we want to see. But if he can cut off the ring, like I said, I think that's his whole key to the fight. And again, I mean, are we talking, is it going to be an 18-foot ring? Is it a 20-foot ring? Is it, how big is the ring? I mean, you know, if I'm Chisora, I want the smallest ring possible. If I'm Usyk, I want the biggest ring possible. It can make a difference. So, can he land those punches? But I think Chisora has the power to stop anyone if they take him flush. But the question is, will he take a flush punch, and will he take several flush punches, and will he take punches that he doesn't see coming? Right? That's where a guy like Teofimo Lopez is so dangerous. Teofimo Lopez punches with you. He's not this counter. He doesn't wait for you to throw and then throw back. He throws with you. And that's when you get knocked out, because you don't see them coming, because you think you've got an angle on this guy and you're going to land your right, and all of a sudden he lands his and you go to sleep.
Cuckoo. Cuckoo. The questions keep coming in. I don't know if you want to keep going. I mean,
go for a little bit more.
Let's go to half.
We're going to do 30 minutes. We're almost twice that. So let's.
Wow. Okay. Let's go to half 10. We'll go to half 10. All right, guys, get your questions in. You've got 9 minutes. How does David think Teofimo Lopez can be number one? How long do you think he can be number one? Sorry.
Well, I think he's phenomenal. I mean, I really think he's phenomenal. I think he's got everything that it takes to stay at the top for quite a long time. But again, he's got to fight certain guys. Like, to me, Devin Haney is still a question, because I think Devin Haney might pose the most danger to him in any division. And you know, they're you know, maybe not though. There's other guys that could be very dangerous for him too. What about him? What about him against the winner of Ramirez Taylor? I mean, that's a hell of a fight.
At 140. Yeah.
At 140. Or what about, let's say, Mikey Garcia at 140 or maybe 147? There are a lot of great fights out there for him. Obviously, we're all going to be watching Selby Kambosos to see who the winner of that is, because they're going to become his mandatory. But Teofimo Lopez is not a joke. Teofimo Lopez is a real fighter. He's proved it. I mean, and not only that, he's got a big set of balls. He wants to be great. And I love that, because this is what we need in prize fighting. This is what we need in boxing, is guys to take risks. I mean, imagine his very first title defense. He goes up and he fights, you know, the guy that everyone says is the boogeyman, which is Lomachenko. And he handled him very, very well and came out with the W. And, you know, he took the big risk, and now he's reaping the reward. So the answer to your question is, he could be at top for a very long time, or he might lose to Haney. I don't know. I want to see that fight. And Devin Haney does have the WBC strap. So, I mean, everyone's talking about undisputed, but like, the WBC belt belongs to Devin Haney right now. So let's see that fight. I want to see that fight.
Yeah. You got some boxing fans out there that recognize that it's a belt by email. You know, but again, Haney says, you know, that's not down to him.
Yeah, but Devin Haney is the real deal. And Devin Haney, like I said earlier in this broadcast, he's young, he's got speed, he's got skill. He is a major threat. You cannot overlook Devin Haney. You'd be foolish to do so.
All right, you guys. Fight, we've got 6 minutes left. Get your questions in. David Diamante. This is the chance of a lifetime. He is here.
I am here. Not for long.
Right.
We're going to be heading into the bubble.
He just this is just pre-bubble, right? Right? Do you expect Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. to be a real fight? It's an exhibition. They'll probably just move around light.
No, I don't think they'll move around light. I don't think those guys have it programmed in them. Both of those guys are true fighters. Both of those guys are absolute warriors. If you know anything about either of those guys, once you get in there, I mean, but to be honest with you, I mean, look, I'm going to watch the fight, but I don't want to see these guys. I mean, they're older. You know what I mean? That fight is more of a kind of an entertainment thing than a real boxing match at this point. So I'm going to watch it, but I'm not so interested. I mean, look, if they make money, I'm happy for them. I hope they both stay safe. That's all I hope. I mean, I love both guys. I really do. They're both legends. They both got nothing to prove. They've done so much for the sport. I just want them to be safe. You know, I love both guys. They're both great guys. I mean, Roy Jones, he's a lovely guy, man. He really is.
Yeah. I met him once. He's a top guy.
So, I mean, I want him to stay safe.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think they're going to tee off on each other. I think once you hear ding ding, it's like, what is that? I'm a chicken hawk. You know, what was that? What was that little cartoon character on Foghorn Leghorn? Anytime you heard a bell, he'd start punching. I'm a chicken hawk. He'd start punching. I mean, that's what it is. When you hear the bell, man, all bets are off. You know, that's why people talk about the bubble, like, oh, what's it like to fight without a crowd? I don't think it matters at all once the bell rings, because it's like, I'm not saying it doesn't matter. Of course it matters, but it's when you're a fighter, once it gets going, I mean, you're in it, man. You're in it. It's real, you know? And I think there's no doubt that the crowd super helps at certain moments. So yes, it is different, but nevertheless, you're in a fight and you know it. So I think those guys are going to mix it up.
Yeah, I also got a shout out to Mike Tyson, Hotboxing Mike Tyson. I love that podcast. I always watch it. So you watch that Hotboxing by Mike Tyson on YouTube?
Not really. Sometimes I've seen like little clips, but I don't have a ton of time to watch that stuff. But maybe I'll try to catch some of it. I know he has it, but I'm pretty busy, so I don't have a ton of time.
All righty, okay, guys. I think that's a wrap. I would say we'd like to thank David Diamante. Guys, smash that like button before we go off air. Subscribe if you ain't subscribed. Remember, Usyk versus Chisora, Sky Sports box office this weekend. Fright night. Should we announce our way out, David?
The fright starts now.
Guys, it's been a pleasure. We out ya. David Diamante, Pro BZ, Pep Talk. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Talk soon.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.